The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south. Excuse me. Sorry, my voice wasn't quite clear when I did that. North to south. Coast to coast. Around the world. This is the Wells Report. Here we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We make commentary. That is not debate. Commentary is opinion, both yours and mine. And so we debate. I think I got that wrong. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion, and we debate. So news, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving Day holiday. Here in the Wells house, it was magnificent. We had friends, and we had food, and it was delicious. And now the carnage of the Christmas buying season begins. It's Cyber Monday. And I hope you get all of your cyber stuff ordered today. I think I have a couple of projects that I'm going to be doing on Cyber Monday, and I can hardly wait to get that done immediately after this broadcast, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Let's get busy, shall we? Time now for the front page. This is a news digest over the holidays, etc., and since we were sleeping yesterday. So let's get to the basic headlines today. There is good news coming from the Israeli-Hamas war. An American has been released as a part of the hostage release. USA Today reports that 17 more captives, including an American child, were freed by militants yesterday in a third round of hostage releases amid a truce that President Joe Biden, Hamas leaders, and the Israeli government say they want to extend. The Israeli military said in a social media post, 14 Israeli, 3 foreign national hostages were transferred to the Red Cross. Among them was American Abigail Edan. She is 4 years old. She was kidnapped from the Kfar Aza kibbutz in the military rampage into the Israel border communities October 7th that left somewhere between 12 and 1,400 Israelis dead. Abigail's parents were killed along with her 2 older brothers and her 2 other older brothers, hid in a closet and survived. That is good news. What she endured is unthinkable, said President Biden. Today she is free. Jill and I, together with so many Americans, are praying that she is going to be all right. North Carolina Senator Ted Budd confirmed that Adrienne Aviva Siege, 62 years of age, was also released from Gaza. Siege had been taken hostage from her home in Kibbutz Kfar Aza on October 7th, according to the Hostages and Missing Persons Families Forum. But her husband, Keith Siegel, a North Carolina native, is still being held, this according to Budd. U.S. officials say efforts to return hostages held by other groups is ongoing. This from NBC News. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told NBC News Meet the Press yesterday that efforts to free hostages held by other groups in Gaza were ongoing. We are also aware that it's not just Hamas holding hostages. Palestinian Islamic Jihad, another terror group that participated in the brutal massacre October 7th, is holding some, said Sullivan. And other groups who are not directly affiliated but have loose connections to Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad are also holding hostages. Sullivan said that part of the efforts were to establish a deal, quote, in which every last possible hostage in Gaza who is alive gets turned back over and reunited with their families, unquote. Israel has released Palestinian prisoners as a part of the Hamas hostage deal. This from USA Today. Scores of Palestinians held in Israeli prisons have been released, shuttled to freedom in Red Cross buses. Crowds in Gaza chanted, God is great, as one bus arrived, not in Gaza, but the West Bank. As the buses arrived, Al Jazeera reported several young men stood on the roof of the bus in celebration as the crowd waved Hamas flags and chanted pro-Hamas slogans. Hamas and the Russian Foreign Ministry announced also in an unrelated deal, a hostage with a Russian passport was released as a show of the militant group's appreciation for the support of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Hamas announced yesterday, that one of its top commanders had also been killed, but did not say when. Israel said it had killed multiple high-ranking Hamas militants before the ceasefire went into effect. Hamas leaders, as mentioned earlier, are now proposing an extension of the ceasefire. This from USA Today. Hamas leaders on Sunday announced an effort to extend the ceasefire in tandem with the release of more Palestinians held in Israel and more militant held hostages. Details of the proposal were not immediately available. The Israeli Army's chief spokesman, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, said that Israel was open to extending the truce if more hostages would be released. Israel previously said the truce, due to expire on Monday, can be extended by an extra day for every additional hostages freed. That to expire today. That's when we're discussing. We'll see if they extend it. President Biden says he's going to work to extend the pause in the fighting. USA Today is reporting that President Biden said he would continue to work to extend the hostage deal, which includes the release of humanitarian aid into Gaza and Palestinian prisoners. Biden said that 200 aid trucks had been able to move into Gaza every day, carrying food, water, medicine, fuel, and cooking gas. He said it remains his goal to keep the pause in place past today. We worked urgently to take advantage of the pause to surge aid into Gaza, said President Biden. The proof that it is working and worth pursuing further is in every smile and every grateful tear we see on the faces of those families who are finally getting back together again. This is interesting. The Human Rights Watch, the group, has released a report on that deadly Gaza hospital blast. This coming to us from USA Today. The explosion that killed and wounded hundreds of civilians at Al Ali Arab Hospital in Gaza on October 17th resulted from an apparent rocket-propelled bomb similar to those used by Palestinian militants, this according to Human Rights Watch. The non-governmental agency said in a statement the bomb hit a paved area in the hospital compound near a parking lot. The Gaza Health Ministry said 471 people were killed, 342 were injured. Human Rights said it was unavailable. Human Rights Watch said it was unable to corroborate the count, which was significantly higher than U.S. and other estimates. Further investigation is needed, according to the statement. The strike initially fueled outrage toward Israel, but events later surfaced, indicating the tragedy may have been caused by a misfiring Islamic Jihad rocket. U.S. military news this morning. A U.S. Navy destroyer has responded to a tanker attack. This from Fox News. A U.S. Navy vessel responded to a distress call yesterday from an Israeli-linked tanker off the coast of Yemen on Sunday that was later fired upon, according to Fox News. U.S. Navy personnel from the USS Mason, a Mayport-based Arleigh Burke-class destroyer assigned to the eastern Mediterranean, responded to the distress call from the Liberian-flagged Central Park, carrying a cargo of phosphoric acid in the Gulf of Aden. The vehicle is managed by Zodiac Maritime, a London-based international ship management company owned by Israeli billionaire Eyal Ofer's Zodiac Group. A Zodiac spokesman told Fox News the vessel issued a distress call around 6 a.m. Universal Coordinated Time. That happened yesterday, stating it was under attack by suspected pirates while transitioning the International Recommended Transit Corridor, some 54 nautical miles off the coast of Somalia. There were people that were in boats that precipitated the attack, arrested by the United States Navy. Upon that arrest, the country of Yemen, or factions in the country of Yemen, fired 2 cruise missiles at the USS Mason. The USS Mason monitored the missiles until they ran out of fuel, apparently, and fell into the sea. U.S. reverberations are happening around our country. 3 Palestinian college students have been shot in what authorities are calling a possible hate crime. This from USA Today. The FBI is investigating the shootings of 3 young men of Palestinian descent who were injured near the University of Vermont while visiting for a Thanksgiving holiday gathering in what authorities said may have been a hate crime. The shootings occurred about 6:25 p.m. Saturday near the University of Vermont campus. This, according to the Burlington Police Department. Police have arrested a suspect. Agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives arrested Jason J. Eaton. He is 48 years of age while conducting a search of the shooting area in Burlington at 3:38 p.m. yesterday afternoon, according to the Burlington Police Department. Authorities collected evidence during a search of Eaton's apartment in a building in front of the shooting location. He is scheduled to be arraigned today. New York City's Hillcrest High School was the scene of a student protest, that protest being condemned today. This from Fox News. A New York City councilwoman unloaded on the failure of modern progressivism after students at a Queens high school last week reportedly rioted against a Jewish teacher for attending a pro-Israel rally. Chaos broke out at Hillcrest High School in Queens Monday after 11 a.m. when students planned to protest against a female teacher for attending a pro-Israel rally last month. This according to the New York Post. Students reportedly checked out the teacher's Facebook account and found her profile photo showed her attending the rally while holding a sign that said, quote, "I stand with Israel," unquote. "I was sickened by what I saw at Hillcrest High School, but sadly I was not surprised," said Republican New York City Councilwoman Vicky Palladino, speaking to Fox News. "Our education system is fundamentally broken. Anti-Semitic riots like this are sadly the natural result of years of woke leftist indoctrination replacing real education. Allowing progressives to gain control over our institutions was always going to lead to tragic outcomes. They've been working to instigate a cultural revolution here for decades, and now those efforts appear to be bearing fruit," said the councilwoman. Elsewhere, 2 wounded in a shooting after Cleveland tree lighting. That's the headline from Fox News. Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb released a statement saying he was both saddened and angered after a shooting Saturday night following an annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony that drew hundreds of spectators, leaving 2 people wounded. Last night, what should have been an evening of celebration ended in tragedy when 2 juveniles were shot amid a large fight that broke out after Cleveland's annual tree lighting event on Public Square, said Bibb, who was a Democrat, reporting to 3 News Television. The Cleveland Division of Police, the CBP, or CDP rather, said that the 2 victims, ages 15 and 13, were taken to the hospital. Gunfire was reported at 8:45 p.m. Saturday in Public Square. A suspect was quickly taken into custody, but neither the teens nor the suspect were identified. In news of your car, perhaps, Honda has issued recalls over 300,000 cars due to have seatbelt problems. This from USA Today. Nearly 304,000 Honda Accords and HR-Vs are being recalled due to potentially defective seatbelts. According to Honda's safety report to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, front seatbelt pretensioners were assembled without a rivet securing the quick connector and wire plate. Pretensioners are the devices that tighten seatbelts to keep occupants in place when cars brake hard or crash. Seatbelt pretensioners missing a rivet will not properly restrain the occupant in the event of a collision, increasing the risk of an injury, said Honda. Carmaker noted that as of November 16th, there were no reported injuries or death related to the issue, but there have been 7 warranty claims. And finally, on today's front page, rest in peace for Marty Krofft, the creator of HR Pufnstuf and the Donnie and Marie variety show. He has died. This from USA Today. Marty Krofft, a TV producer known for imaginative children's shows such as HR Pufnstuf and the primetime hits including Donnie and Marie in the 70s, has died in Los Angeles. According to his publicist, he was 86 years of age. Krofft and his brother Sid were puppeteers who broke into television, ended up getting stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Along the way, they brought a trippy sensibility to children's TV and brought singing siblings Donnie and Marie Osmond and Barbara Mandrell and her sisters to primetime. Marty Krofft has passed away 86 years of age and left an indelible imprint on the youth of America, now adults. Rest in peace, Marty Krofft. And that is today's front page. Coming up, we're going to have all the very latest news from the hostage exchange, both Israel and the Palestinians exchanging hostages, Israel exchanging prisoners for people taken in the October 7th melee that occurred in areas surrounding the Gaza Strip. We'll have all of that for you. We'll also talk more a little bit about the U.S. Navy's move in the Gulf of Aden, having to do with the USS Mason stopping a tanker hijack and then being fired upon. All this coming up on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. Good morning and welcome to this broadcast in our chat room, etc., etc. We got lots of people flying around in the chat room today. I want to say good morning to Ann Hoy Guzman. Want to say hi to Eddie Jones. Ginny is here with us. Yvonne, I hope you're feeling better. Yvonne is going down the well-worn track of vaccinating herself against COVID by having COVID, not by taking shots. And I hope you're feeling better, darling. Let's see. Tom Tradup is joining us today. The great Tom Tradup, one of America's greatest broadcasters, and now a columnist. And I do not know the name of the website that you're doing columns for, but it is in Israel, and I'm so glad that you're lending your incredible broadcasting efforts to the people of Israel. Awesome. Let's see. David Keith has joined us, and so on. And I want to thank everybody for being here on our chat room. The President of the United States has issued an apology to several prominent Muslim American leaders. This after openly questioning the accuracy of death tolls from Gaza. During a press conference October 25th, President Biden openly questioned the number of casualties in Gaza, which are reported by the Hamas government. I have no notion, this is a quote, I have no notion that the Palestinians are telling the truth about how many people are killed, said Biden. I'm sure innocents have been killed, and it's a price for waging war. Not that it happens often, but I completely agreed with the president's assessment of that. The issues coming with Palestinian casualties in this are a result and a price of waging war, which is what Palestinians did. But then President Biden met with 5 Muslim American leaders the day after his October 25th comments about reported Gaza deaths. During that meeting, Biden listened to the leaders describe people they knew who were directly impacted by the conflict in the Middle East. And then Biden told the group, I'm sorry, I'm disappointed in myself. This being reported by the Washington Post. The Muslim American leaders who met with Biden urged him to show more empathy to the Palestinians. And Biden allegedly hugged one of the participants at the end of the meeting. That from Fox News. This being reported from the London Daily Mail. President Biden cheered the release of a 4-year-old Israeli-American, Abigail Mor-Edan, who was among the hostages released by Hamas yesterday. The president gave an impromptu address about Edan's release from the White House Elephant Hotel the White Elephant Hotel on Nantucket as he wrapped up his 6-day family Thanksgiving vacation on that island. President Biden noted how Edan turned 4 on Friday, spending her birthday in captivity after Hamas terrorists murdered her parents in front of her during the October 7th terror attack on Israel. Then the president said this, thank God she's home. I can't imagine the enjoyment there as the family was reunited with their child. And then he said, I wish I were there to hold her. The White House later said yesterday the president had talked by phone with Edan's relatives in both the United States and Israel. I appreciate the president's efforts in this. I have to admit, it gave me a little small case of the creeps when he talked about hugging that young lady, considering some of the things that have happened in his life and presidency before now. I have to admit that was one of the things that crossed my mind. We'll have more, by the way, on this in just a couple of minutes. We've got some video from CNN. By the way, CNN, say what you want about that news organization, but when they do news, as opposed to thinly veiled political propaganda, when they do real news, they're excellent. And we've got some video proof of that coming up in just a couple of moments. No, I don't have COVID. I have mountain cedar allergy. It's been killing me all weekend. Mountain cedar. I've lived everywhere in the United States. I've never had any trouble with allergies until I came to Texas. And Texas is my home. I'm never leaving. But the thing about it is that nothing in the universe is without balance. So all the wonderful and incredibly great things about Texas, balanced out by mountain cedar, which is trying to kill me. So anyway, hopefully that's going to be going away along with the pollen later on. Coming up, we have more details on these hostage rescues, and some of the video is just plain heart-melting. This is the Wells Report. I thank you very much for being a part of this broadcast. We'll be back with more in about 5 minutes.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to Low Cost Airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
This is the Wells Report. News, analysis, commentary, and debate Monday through Friday from 9 until 11 Central Time. That time may be changing in the near future. We'll talk more about that at some time in the near future. By the way, I was mentioning that one of the greatest broadcasters to ever have anything to do with the industry is now reporting for allisrael.com. That's all, ALLISRAEL.com. And he has been reporting for that organization. I just put the chat, or in the chat room, I just put the link to his latest column, or the latest one that I have. And Tom Tradup is truly a great human being who works tirelessly for the sake of the human condition. So let's spend a little bit of time here talking about what's been going on with regard to the Israel-Hamas hostage exchange. That is where we are right now. And I also want to bring up some reports that I mentioned earlier that have been just incredible by CNN. CNN has really handled this. There is some bias in it. It is a bit disappointing, but it is still incredibly good. And I'd like you to see some of that right now.
Got video here of 9-year-old Ohad Munder. You see him running down the hall and jumping into his father's arms after 7 weeks in captivity. Now, Ohad, his mother and grandmother were among the 24 hostages released yesterday.
13 Israelis, 10 Thai citizens, and 1 Filipino were in that first group. This video was released by Hamas, and CNN had no control over its content. These hostages, they were immediately taken to hospitals near Tel Aviv for medical checkups. But officials say that they are in good condition, good physical condition. In return for the freed Israeli hostages, Israel released 39 Palestinian prisoners. Videos obtained by CNN show the crowd waving Palestinian and Hamas flags and carrying the newly released prisoners through the streets of the West Bank. Other former prisoners hugged friends and loved ones. The released Palestinians included women, girls, and male teenagers.
And that is just some of what we have seen here. There is another report that I want to make sure that you see. I'm trying to make sure that I've got this. It is truly a that is not where. Yeah, that's where I want to go right there. And so what we'll do here is we'll play this video for you. Normally, what we do is we prepare these a little bit more than we've been able to do at this particular moment. Hang on just a second. That's the audio.
The safety of
and I have to do that, and I have to do this. This is why we prepare them ahead of time. But I found this, and obviously, I think you want to see this. This is one of the American hostages, our first American hostages being released. A small little girl. Check this out.
They arrived by helicopter to the safety of an Israeli children's hospital near Tel Aviv. Their 51-day nightmare as hostages in Gaza at an end. Just hours earlier, they were released to the Red Cross. Hamas posting this highly choreographed video, its audio removed, apparently showing Palestinians in Gaza City, which Israel has relentlessly pounded, cheering as hostages are handed over, including US-Israeli toddler Abigail Idan, who turned 4 just days ago in captivity. Her parents were killed by Hamas. Her relatives say Abigail doesn't know she's returning home an orphan.
Her brother and her sister have survived. They hid in a closet for 14 hours after watching their parents murdered, thinking that Abigail was murdered too. They are now with their grandparents and their aunts and uncles who lived with them on the kibbutz. They have a wonderful extended family, and we are all waiting for Abigail to come home.
This was the horrific aftermath of the Hamas rampage through Kfar Aza, one of the Israeli communities near Gaza, where so many were slaughtered or abducted on October the 7th. Family members say Abigail was in her father's arms when he was gunned down. Then she fled to her neighbors, the Brodak family.
How old? He's 4.5.
Only to be abducted and now released along with them. From the start of this ordeal, Avihai Brodak told me he's kept faith.
I got all this hope with me, and my beliefs, and I believe that they're doing fine. These guys that took them, I know they're religious, I know they're Muslim, so I got this really great hope that they're treating them well, feeding them, and letting them move around a bit, maybe play some soccer.
Now also released 9-year-old Tal Goldstein Almog, seen here before he was abducted from Kfar Aza, along with his mother, a sister and brother. They're also now freed, but return, their uncle told me, to a shattered family. Tal's other sister, Yam, and father, Nadav, were both murdered.
I mean, the best is in front of us. It's going to come. Whatever happened, we cannot change. Nadav is not longer with us. Yam, the beautiful girl, is not with us anymore. But
there's still a chance. There's still a chance for your sister and her children.
Yes. We have to bring what left. We need to bring back what left from this family. It's a broken family.
And there are so many broken families that each hostage release may now start to help rebuild. Matthew Chance, CNN, Tel Aviv.
Did a great job on that. That was an excellent and an important, definitely an important report. And we are very, very glad to be able to bring that to you here on the Wells Report. There is other news. We normally do these updates here, so that's what we'll endeavor to bring to you here. Elon Musk has shown up and has been touring the area of the attacks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So let's get back to the news aspect of all of this. This also from CNN, this from 34 minutes ago in their live updates. It's a great website. If you are interested in following this, that's where you go. Also, USA Today and Fox News also have live updates as well. We use a lot of those reports in this broadcast. Israel and Hamas have expressed interest in extending the truce. It's not going to be a simple thing. The truce between Israel and Hamas is in its fourth and potentially final day today. There is mounting pressure on both sides to extend the pause in fighting. Since Friday, Hamas has released 58 hostages. Israel has freed 117 Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails. But while Israel and Hamas may be willing to extend the truce, doing so will be fraught with difficulties. Not all of the roughly 240 people taken into Gaza in the October 7th attack on Israel are or were being held by Hamas, the militant group that launched the assault. More than 40 of the hostages are being held by groups other than Hamas, according to diplomatic sources. CNN has previously reported that between 40 and 50 hostages were held by Palestinian Islamic Jihad and other militant groups. The truce agreement requires Hamas and not any other group to hand over hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. And so doing, even if Hamas is willing to extend the truce, it may struggle to locate additional hostages. Coordinating their release may also be difficult, as communications in Gaza have been degraded by Israeli airstrikes. Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani, who has helped broker the initial agreement, told the Financial Times that any extension to the fighting rests on Hamas being able to find more of the hostages. Quote, "If they get additional women and children, there will be an extension," said Al Thani, adding that one of the purposes of the truce was for Hamas to search for the rest of the missing people. There are strategic problems. Extending the truce in exchange for the release of more hostages could pose those problems for both Israel and Hamas. For Hamas, the holding of hostages presents the only real leverage they have over Israel. We have spent some time talking about this. It is not in Hamas's best interest to release all those hostages, because after that's done, Katie bar the door, Israeli forces will go seek out the rest of those Hamas leaders and operatives and do away with them. This peace in this particular part of the world, according to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, rests on the destruction of Hamas. This is not something that I think Israel will shrink from. They will continue to remove those people from the planet as retribution for these attacks, unprovoked and incredibly deadly. Over 1,000 Israelis losing their lives, families destroyed, and hostages taken. Hamas may soon up its price, demanding the pauses in fighting be longer or that the number of Palestinian prisoners be greater in exchange for the release of Israeli hostages. This is likely to be a limiting factor to the number of hostages Hamas will be willing to set free, since it will be unwilling to surrender the leverage it has over Israel. For Israel, strategically, the truce agreement has allowed it to take steps toward achieving one of its war aims, securing the release of Israeli hostages. But extending the truce might further make its ultimate war aim, destroying Hamas, harder to achieve. And this is something else that has been brought up by this reporter and several others, insofar as any pause gives Hamas a chance to reconstitute, relocate, re-strategize, and then move forward with its planning. This is something that I'm sure is going to be mitigated by other sources. However, that being said, Israel is doing what it can to be able to get its hostages released. Now, these people in Israeli prisoners, these Palestinians, were in prison for a reason, and now they are free. and will likely continue their anti-Israeli work. So there is give and take, and insofar as the world media and many world leaders are spending an awful lot of time castigating Israel for its response to this heinous, atrocious, and disastrous attack on its citizens, disastrous for Hamas, I find that absolutely reprehensible that people would be hassling Israel on any of this. But that being said, these opportunities for Hamas to reconstitute itself is going to make this much more difficult from a strategic point. Releasing all the hostages was found to be more important than toppling Hamas. This, according to a survey of Israelis carried out by the Israeli Democracy Initiative before the announcement of the truce was made last week. But Israeli government has stressed it is committed to achieving both aims. I doubt very sincerely that they will ever shrink from removing Hamas from any kind of operational status. Every day there is a pause, and every day that there is a pause in fighting gives Hamas more time to regroup ahead of potential expansion of fighting into the south of the Gaza Strip. After the initial truce agreement, Israel, the U.S. agreed to pause surveillance drone flights over Gaza, something that Israel obviously would be reluctant to do since it would mean losing track of the movements of Hamas fighters. And so while extending the truce might further one of Israel's war aims, it delays and potentially frustrates the other. Discussions are underway about the hostage list for today on the fourth day of the truce. Monday is the fourth and possibly final day. Today is the possibly final day of the truce between Israel and Hamas. But today's hostage handover is throwing up a few challenges. There are a number of ongoing issues. 3 sources briefed on the discussion said, including ensuring that children on the list are not released without their mothers or grandmothers, whom also might be in captivity. As a part of the deal, family members are not meant to be separated during the release. That deal was already violated when Hamas released one hostage without her mother on Saturday. This, according to an Israeli Defense Force spokesperson. Israel, Hamas, the United States, mediated by Qatar, are working through these issues, according to the sources. 58 hostages have been released from Gaza since Friday, including 4-year-old American-Israeli Abigail Edan. It is unclear whether additional American hostages will be released from Gaza today, according to the White House. There's also the possibility the truce could be extended beyond Monday today, with both sides indicating their interest in continuing the pause in fighting. No such deal has been announced, but the agreed-upon truce already includes a provision for an extension of 1 extra day for every 10 hostages Hamas is ready to free. There are some additional details. Dozens of hostages are not held by Hamas. We've talked about that. More than 40 of them have been taken into Israel or taken from Israel into Gaza, are being held by Palestinian Islamic Jihad and other groups. Hamas is going to have to negotiate with them to get their hostages exchanged or turned over to Hamas to move forward with the hostage deal. 2 American women had been expected to be released today. That appears to be uncertain, according to 3 sources briefed on the discussions. We just don't know right now, said John Kirby, the National Security Council spokesperson, telling CNN. A hostage did know about her daughter's fate. An Israeli woman released by Hamas knew her daughter and husband had been killed October 7th while she was being held hostage, according to her brother. Chen Goldstein Almog's daughter, Yam, was 20 years old when she was killed. Her husband, Nadav, was 48 years old. Aid workers in Gaza are now feeling somewhat safer. An aid worker in Gaza told CNN that the pause in fighting has given people an opportunity to walk safely in the streets, checking their family members and homes, and grieve the loss of loved ones. And then the top European Union diplomat in this, Josep Borrell, the EU's foreign policy chief, said the initial 4-day truce was an important first step towards a political solution, but that the EU needed to start looking for a more long-term solution. That is the very latest on all of this. Coming up in just a couple of moments here on the Wells Report, we will also be bringing you some information that has to do with the shooting of Palestinians here in the United States as the reverberations course the world and come to our shores as well. This is the Wells Report. Back in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. 3 Vermont college students were shot over the weekend. Hisham Awartani of Brown University, Kinan Abdul Hamid of Haverford University, and Tassin Ahmed of Trinity University were shot and injured at about 6:30 p.m. Saturday while attending a Thanksgiving holiday gathering. The students were visiting the home of one of the victims' relatives and were walking to dinner when they were confronted by a white man with a handgun. The suspect was arrested yesterday in connection with that shooting. Jason J. Eaton, he's 48 years of age, was detained yesterday afternoon after the scene of, or near the scene of the shooting in Burlington, Vermont. This, according to Burlington police in a press release. The police searched his nearby apartment, found probable cause, and Eaton was arrested Sunday night. He's expected to be arraigned this morning. University of Vermont has no indication the shooting is connected to the institution and is incredibly saddened by the incident. It happened in front of Eaton's apartment building, according to police. Police previously said the gunman opened fire on the suspects without speaking. 2 of the victims were wearing kefias. I'm sorry, I'll have to get the pronunciation of that. Kefias, those are the traditional scarves worn by some in the Middle East, specifically Palestinians. The Arab American Anti-Discrimination Committee said they were speaking Arabic when the shooting occurred. The 3 victims are all 20 years of age. They remain hospitalized as of this report. 2 of the victims are U.S. citizens. The third is a legal U.S. resident. The Federal Bureau of Investigation's Albany, New York office said in a statement that it had been investigating the shooting. The FBI continues to actively investigate the shooting in Burlington alongside our partners at the Burlington Police Department, the ATF, several other federal, state, and local agencies, according to the statement. Our office has deployed numerous technical, forensic, and investigative resources in support of the investigation to include victim services and computer and cell phone analysis. Look, we don't want to buy into this fight. If you are Palestinian, stop. If you are Israeli or Jewish, stop. If you are someone who is not of either of those groups and are pro or anti either one of those groups, stop. Do not pursue any of this. We don't live in the Gaza Strip or the West Bank. We do not live in Israel. We live in the United States of America. This is a safe harbor for people to come and live in freedom and liberty. It is our national credo. It is who we are. There are Israelis, Jews, Palestinians, Arabs, Germans, Italians, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans. Everybody in the world lives in the United States and becomes the basis for e pluribus unum, of many, one. This nation is the only nation on the globe that has not at some time or another been ruled by totalitarian government sources. We don't want to court any possibility that that would happen here. And the rest of the world knows that this is about freedom and liberty here. And that's why they come. And that's why they join us. They find prosperity here based on that freedom and liberty. They find safety here based on that freedom and liberty. The First Amendment makes it absolutely abundantly clear that people can do anything they choose from a standpoint of supporting one or another particular political or societal or humanitarian ideas, and can do so in public, in demonstrations. Those are just fine. But when that descends to crime, when that descends to violence, it courts disaster. Now, I don't know whether this guy's guilty or not, because here in the United States, you are innocent until proven guilty. But anybody who is guilty of shooting anyone in this nation, especially on religious or societal grounds, needs to be dealt with harshly. We don't do that here. We're not going to do that here. We're going to live in peace and harmony. We may disagree, but we aren't going to kill each other over these disagreements. We're not going to attempt to kill each other over these disagreements. That's not American. And I don't care what your demographic, ethnic, religious, gender background happens to be. If you take up weaponry against someone else in these United States will deal with you harshly. And at some point or another, equally. I don't know that that's going to happen, but we'll see. There's an awful lot of things against it. We have discovered through this entire mess that there are significant factions in the United States government that are anti-Jewish. We've discovered in our own society there are significant factions that are anti-Jewish. There are people that are Islamophobic. Many people say, well, there are good reasons. Well, I understand all that. But once again, we don't take up weapons against each other. We are not going to follow in the footsteps of one particular group going into the homeland of another particular group and slaughtering people willy-nilly because they go to the wrong church, or they speak the wrong language, or they're the wrong gender, or any of that. And so, if those people do indeed engage in that, then this nation needs to harshly prevail. Back in a moment.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll will bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Here, we report the news, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias, and we point out both. We make commentary, which is not news. Commentary is opinion, both yours and mine, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. It's great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us. You can do so several different ways, especially the debate and commentary portion. You can join us on our chat room at Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble, and Patreon. You can also join us on the telephone, 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. And we want to thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate it. We are covering the hostage releases, and there is interesting news regarding all of that. Fox News has this report that we want to bring to you as we spend an awful lot of time today on news coverage of the events that began October 7th and continue to this day, and over the weekend, hostage releases. This is a Fox News report on that very subject.
For more on the Biden administration's handling of the hostage situation, let's bring in Chief Executive of Foundation for Defense of Democracies, Mark Dubowitz, who just returned from his week-long trip to Israel, where he met with senior diplomatic and military officials. Mark, welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
So you heard President Biden suggesting a longer pause in fighting to get more prisoners out. Your thoughts?
Look, there's overwhelming pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Israeli government to get the hostages out, right? Israeli society is a society that cherishes every life. They celebrate life. Unfortunately, they're dealing with a terrorist enemy that celebrates death. And so they have no choice but to agree to this ceasefire, to get these hostages out, to get these babies and children and women and mothers and fathers out. And Hamas, of course, will play games with the psychological fragility of the country in order to try and advance their own terrorist aims.
You heard your friend, the former prime minister, say, I think about 10 days would be the max for a pause. Does that seem to make sense to you?
Well, it would seem to make sense in order to get most of the hostages out. I'm fearful that Hamas won't agree to this, and they'll start to play games. They're already playing games. They had agreed to provide both children and mothers and families. They didn't do that today. They've said that they're not going to provide soldiers back. I mean, there's young Israeli soldiers, women and men who are there, and they'll play games with that. So I'm fearful that they're not going to honor any agreement they commit to, and they want to keep those hostages both as bargaining chips and I fear one day to kill them.
I mentioned you were just in Israel. What are you hearing from the Israelis about their partnership with President Biden and their overall mood at this point?
Yeah, I think they're very appreciative of President Biden and of the American Congress, the American people, for the overwhelming support that the United States has provided. I personally think that, President Biden probably deserves an A for his Hamas policy, but I think he deserves an F for his Iran policy, because behind the scenes in Tehran is the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, who really is orchestrating all of this. I mean, he has provided hundreds of millions of dollars to Hamas, billions of dollars to Hezbollah, the other terrorist organization currently fighting Israel on the northern border, to the Houthi terrorists in Yemen who are firing missiles at Israel as we speak. And so he, behind the scenes, has surrounded Israel with this ring of fire and he's activating his terrorist proxies on every border, including, by the way, Mike, multiple dozens of attacks against U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria.
Absolutely. So what more should the president do in your view?
Well, first and foremost, the president should stop releasing tens of billions of dollars to Iran. I mean, he provided $6 billion initially in exchange for U.S. hostages. Now $10 billion he's earmarked to give back to the Iranians. And he hasn't enforced oil sanctions against Iran, which has provided probably $25 to $35 billion in additional oil for this regime. So it's quite a policy where on one hand, Israel has to fight on Hamas, an Iran-backed proxy. And on the other hand, the President of the United States is providing tens of billions of dollars to this Islamic regime in Tehran that is threatening America and Israel.
A superb report, and it did bring up some things that I've been working on behind the scenes. Specifically, just exactly, since we are all aware of what Mr. Dubowitz was talking about here just a moment ago, that Iran is behind all of this. How come Iran has not faced difficulty insofar as they are the puppeteers of all of this? How come they haven't faced attacks from Israel or indeed attacks from the United States? We don't know exactly why. That is a question that lingers as we speak. Why is it that Iran, a known supporter of all of these groups that just participated in a horrific massacre of Israelis, unprovoked, why is it that they have not faced some very serious retribution? Now, that may change. The USS Mason came to the aid of an Israeli-linked tanker carrying phosphoric acid, for crying out loud. Phosphoric acid, good God. The reason I'm saying that is the combination of phosphoric acid and seawater would be an absolute ecological nightmare. And for whatever reason, it seems as though that there is nothing that terrorists will not do to bring misery upon as many people as humanly possible based on whatever their ideology is. Many say it's religious. The rest of us just say they are wanton criminals intent on doing as much damage as they possibly can. But that being said, the USS Mason came under fire from Houthi rebels in Yemen, who are backed by Iran. And they fired a couple of cruise missiles at a United States warship. Now, that's an Aegis destroyer. Nothing, as far as we know, is able to get through the defensive capability of vessels of that nature. But that being said, the USS Mason tracked those missiles inbound and watched them very carefully until they ran out of fuel, and the story says they ran out of fuel and fell into the ocean. Something tells me that since the USS Mason was well within the range demonstrated by these weapons being used by the Houthi rebels in the first place, that they were probably shot down, but for reasons of whatever, we're not getting the total story on that, so I'm not prepared to tell you that that's what happened. But I would be very surprised if the skipper of the USS Mason wouldn't see incoming weapons and do something forthwith to protect his vessel and his crew. That being said, that is an act of war. That is an act of serious war. And fortunately, the United States of America has military assets in place that can rain, shall we say, difficulty on Iran. And this, unfortunately, takes us back to all of these deals that have been made not just by President Biden, but also the Obama administration with regards to the facilitation of the theocratic authoritarian dictatorship of that imprisoned island or imprisoned country. And so now we're trying to wonder, at least I am wondering out loud in person, as to just exactly what are these protections being extended toward Iran and why are they in place? Huge sums of money being released to Iran for what purpose? Certainly, some of those purposes are the eradication of the state of Israel through their proxy armies, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthi rebels, and others. Why are we, in a de facto way, supporting Iran in this work? Because that is exactly what we're doing. Somebody needs to ask that question. As a matter of fact, lots of somebodies need to be asking that question. What is the protection being extended by this nation to the state of Iran? And for what purpose? And someone needs to explain that. Because this country is doing its dead level best to destroy Israel. Maybe not perhaps its best. It does have an air force. It does have a navy. I suppose that they could just declare war on Israel and get after it, but Israel would eradicate the country. Israel has the capability to, as someone said earlier, turn the state of Iran into a sea of glass. And why Iran is baiting that bulldog, I have no idea. But the only thing that I can put together from a standpoint of connecting the dots, which I do pretty well, is somebody's protecting is someone's protecting Iran. Is that the United States of America? Sure looks like it to me. How about you? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. You can join us on the chat room. So all I can tell you on any of this is that we, because of this report, and I was not expecting this to happen, I have an editorial policy on this. If you can't find any kind of information, I don't report it. But I can tell you that I have information beyond open source that does indeed indicate that there is protection of some form that is sustaining Iran's policy in the Middle East. And I want to know why. I want to know why. One of these days, it's never going to happen, but one of these days I'm going to make contact with the White House press office. They have electronic means of asking questions. And I'm going to, at some point, reach out to see if I can ask that question for the reasons that I have named on this broadcast today. Someone needs to ask the question. And if you happen to be in the news media, and there are a lot of people that spend an awful lot of time on this broadcast listening to what happens on this broadcast, that's not self-aggrandizement, that's just plain fact. Please ask that question. It appears as though the United States government is supporting Iran, at least behind the scenes, and certainly out in the open with regard to money transfers and other things. Have indeed, I've got to ask this question as well. Has the United States government put pressure on Israel's government to stay away from Iran? Is that the case? And what is the leverage that the United States government is using to enforce that policy? These are questions that need to be asked. Please, please ask them. Like I said, today I'll reach out and I'll try to figure out how I can get myself into that White House press room. I'll try to figure out how I can contact John Kirby of the National Security Agency and ask these questions. And if I get the answers, which I doubt, because we don't know more about this than what is being talked about in various news articles and videos. Since we don't know anything about it, there are reasons why we don't know anything about it. This being an election year, is it possible that the idea that the United States and the current administration supporting Iran, which is a country that is absolutely sure that we are one of their greatest enemies, if not their greatest enemies, and have done things, including firing on a United States warship. When are we going to take them in hand and say, stop, or we will pulverize you? That is, however, in my humble opinion, all it would really take. But somebody needs to say something, and these questions must be asked. And that they are not asked is disturbingly to the point of this gut-sinking feeling that you get when something bad wrong is going on. That they don't ask that question is revealing. And that we don't have that information from the United States government is even more revealing. That's my take. My name's Wells. That's my opinion. What's yours? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. You can join us on our chat room. We're waiting for you. and we hope that you will give us something to move this conversation forward. It is the Wells Report. We've got more of this story that we're going to unfold as we continue on this broadcast for Monday, the 27th day of November, year of our Lord, 2023. I knew that. Stop laughing at me.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. I do an awful lot of work here. and my day starts at 5 in the morning. And I go through the news of today. And anybody who's ever worked with me has seen me literally preparing the broadcast until the final moments before it starts, trying to get the very latest news on the air. From time to time, there are small things that fall through the cracks. Like, for example, the headscarves worn by supporters of Palestine. And it is KEFFIYEA, YEH rather. And I was going through my news earlier today, and that word popped up, and I, for some reason, dropped its actual pronunciation. So in an effort to not just assuage my own ignorance, but perhaps to assuage yours if you don't know how to pronounce that particular word, I now present this. This is the pronunciation here of the word KEFFIYEA.
Keffiyeh.
Keffiyeh. Okay. So if I'm discussing Palestinian supporters here in the United States, or Palestine citizens in the West Bank, or they're actually not citizens because they don't have a nation, but Palestinians in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and the headscarf points, please remind me that it's pronounced
Keffiyeh.
Keffiyeh. Occasional dumbness is the hallmark of this broadcast. Sadly, I do my absolute dead level best, but I can't promise every single time that it's going to be, shall I say, successful. So there are people that are being released now. One of them is a small American girl, and she is as cute as can possibly be. And she no longer has parents. She has a couple of brothers, and she has extended family. And she is at least released. We don't know about the other Americans. That would leave somewhere around 30 Americans still being held hostage by Hamas. And that takes me back to the closing comments of last segment. Why hasn't the United States made it abundantly clear that Americans will be released immediately forthwith? As I said earlier, we have military assets on the ground. How come the Marines haven't staged one of their incredibly beautiful amphibious landings on the east or the west coast of the Gaza Strip? And how come they're not making their way through the Gaza Strip right this very moment, finding Americans? We've done that before. The United States Marines have been dispatched all over the world to protect the interests of the United States of America and indeed rescue Americans that are, shall we say, being held hostage for one reason or another. The invasion of Grenada was solely to remove United States citizens, college students, from a university there. Why haven't we done that yet in the Gaza Strip? My own personal opinion, and I really work hard not to appear partisan, but I got to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think this administration has the guts. I just don't believe they have the guts. There is no reason why there shouldn't be a hold put on combat for a sweep of the United States Marines through the Gaza Strip looking for Americans. There's no reason why that couldn't happen. So why hasn't it happened? Why isn't anybody talking about it? Why hasn't the mainstream media, an entire media seemingly devoted to covering for the Biden administration as opposed to covering the Biden administration? Why haven't they asked these questions? I brought up 3 of them right now. I brought up 3 questions. Why is the United States supporting Iran? How come the United States hasn't attacked Iran? How come the United States Marines haven't landed in the Gaza Strip to find Americans? What's wrong with those questions? I don't think there's a damn thing wrong with those questions. And I want somebody to ask them. There are times, however, that I wish I had the horsepower to be able to ask them myself. This is the Wells Report.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Got a couple of things to discuss with you regarding what is going on around the world with regards to the conflict between Israel and Hamas, and how there are people calling out many people for all kinds of reasons that that frankly are things that need to be discussed. and we're going to get to a couple of those things. First of all, the Israeli president has questioned Hamas with regards to what he calls passive aggression on the part of Hamas. Let me bring that up for you, so that I can. I had a link here that went someplace else that, for whatever reason, decided to defeat me on that particular situation. But this is this is another very, very good report from CNN. CNN has been doing first-rate journalism on this. There is bias. There is bias that is prevalent in CNN broadcasting. But when it came to the hostage situation and those things surrounding this hostage situation, I have been heartened to see that there are at least real journalists still employed by CNN. Now, if we can just continue that great tradition and perhaps make it even more prevalent, as opposed to something that is fits and starts, shall we say, then perhaps we might be able to find that organization restoring itself into a news organization as opposed to a propagandist one. This is an interview from CNN with Wolf Blitzer speaking to the president of Israel. I want you to see this because at the very end of this broadcast, or at the very end of this particular news that I'm bringing you, the Israeli prime minister discusses this passive aggression.
Sure, you and I agree. Israel's been at war now for more than 50 days.
Okay, so we got something else going on here. So let me get that worked out. Let me find out just exactly why it is that we have. Oh, there we go. I turned that off once, but the famous circumstance whereby Fox decides that what's absolutely essential is for it to have an automatic start on its videos interfered again. So once again, this is Wolf Blitzer from CNN discussing passive aggression on the part of Hamas with regards to the president of Israel.
Curious moment in Israel's history right now, as I'm sure you and I agree. Israel's been at war now for more than 50 days against Hamas, given what happened back on October 7th. 3 days into this temporary truce right now, how meaningful is it, Mr. President, right now, for Israelis to see at least some good news, some of the hostages being reunited with their families?
It is extremely important because we see human beings who are in the abyss without knowing their whereabouts and their fate, as well as the fact that they themselves are totally secluded and disconnected from the rest of the world. The fact that you see young girls, a young boy, or grandmothers walking through and going to Israeli hospitals and coming back and meeting their families is a huge emotional storm and something that gives us happiness, but of course happiness with a lot of sorrow in it, because there are at least 200 hostages still held out there in Hamas, under Hamas duress, somewhere in bunkers somewhere, without knowing how they live and what their whereabouts. Some family torn apart. Most of the hostages that were released have still family members left behind, meaning tearing the families apart. And as you can see, throughout the last few days, Hamas is treading on our psychology with a kind of a passive-aggressive approach, which wants to drive us as a nation crazy because of the emotions filled and because of the extreme pain and worry of so many relatives to their friends and family who are out there in Gaza.
Yeah, and that passive aggression is, as we all know, essentially steeped in juvenile behavior, deadly juvenile behavior, sociopathic, insofar as not even human life has anything to do with this supposed religious fervor. And why that is the case, I simply don't know. Elsewhere, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Elon Musk visited a kibbutz attacked by Hamas, where a 4-year-old Israel-American girl was kidnapped by members of the terrorist organization. As you know, she has been released. Musk's visit comes as he faces a firestorm of criticism over his public endorsement of an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory on his social media platform X. Now, you have to keep something in mind here. That is a biased report against Elon Musk and the platform X. And the reason that that is happening is because Twitter used to be essentially a censored platform where leftist views prevailed. And Elon Musk got so frustrated with it, he bought it and changed it. And he's been under attack by the mainstream media, CNN, ever since. And it is ridiculous, in my view, that Elon Musk has to deal with that based on nothing more than politics and the manipulation of the media through political sources. It's outrageous, at least in my view. Elsewhere in the world, former UFC champion Conor McGregor has ripped the Prime Minister of Ireland for downplaying the kidnapping and eventual release of an Irish-Israeli child by Hamas terrorists. McGregor called Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar a disgrace after he used the terms lost in place of kidnapping and found in place of release to describe the abduction and release of 9-year-old Emily Hand, who is an Irish Israeli. She was abducted, the UFC superstar wrote on X. She was abducted by an evil terrorist organization. What is it with you and your government and your paid-for media affiliates constantly downplaying and attempting to repress horrific acts that happen to children? You are a disgrace. McGregor was referring to Hand, who was kidnapped by Hamas terrorists from her friend Hila's house in the kibbutz Be'eri in southern Israel on October 7th, along with Hila and Hila's mother. Varadkar had posted on social media after Emily Hand was reunited with her father, who initially believed she had been killed in the Hamas attack. Quote, "This is a day of enormous joy and relief for Emily Hand and her family," the Prime Minister wrote. "An innocent child who was lost has now been found and returned. We breathe a massive sigh of relief. Our prayers have been answered." Really? Really? And Conor McGregor said, "Are you absolutely out of your mind?" And said so. So let's talk about this. There is a right-wing politician named Geert Wilders. Mr. Wilders has just gone through an election in that country and is very likely going to be the next prime minister of the Netherlands. Wilders tweeted Saturday, this on X, "Jordan is Palestine." In other words, what he believes is that Palestinians should be relocated to Jordan, without talking to Jordan about it, apparently. He is facing condemnation now from multiple Arab states after suggesting the war between Hamas and Israel could be remedied if Palestinians were relocated to Jordan. Nobody in the Middle East, including the United States, not in the Middle East, wants to see Palestinians among them. Over the last 4 or 5 decades, Palestinians have turned themselves into a terrorist populace. Just my opinion. They've done so not just by their work, but by work on their behalf from any number of terrorist anti-Jewish organizations around the world. Many of them in Europe. And so Wilders is now saying that Jordan should take all of these Palestinians. Jordan doesn't want, King Abdullah does not want Palestinians in his midst. He has enough, thank you very much. And why in heaven's name would you import a populace whose sole purpose seems to be the killing of Jews? Why would you do that? And so the Palestinian Authority said Wilders' proposal is a call to escalate the aggression against our people and a blatant interference in their affairs and future. The UAE embassy in the Netherlands called Wilders' suggestion irresponsible. Leaders in Jordan labeled the suggestion as a racist position. In other words, everybody's panicking that the idea might actually take hold. Nobody wants the Palestinians. No one. And I have to ask this question. And once again, I'm not anti-Palestinian. I'm anti-terror. I'm anti-sociopathic destruction of people who disagree with the Palestinian position. But heaven's name, why in heaven's name would anybody want Palestinians to live among them? That is a question that I am sad to have to ask it. But once again, on this broadcast, we ask real questions. We don't try to curry favor with various politicians or their press agents in an effort to mask or subdue or otherwise try to rationalize what is absolutely abhorrent activity. And so Geert Wilders says, yeah, let's just relocate the Palestinians elsewhere. And that's a question or a statement that probably should indeed be asked. Now, the U.S. military, the USS Mason, responded to a call of distress from an Israeli-linked tanker off the coast of Yemen. This happened yesterday and was later fired upon. U.S. Navy personnel from the USS Mason, a Mayport-based Arleigh Burke-class destroyer assigned to the eastern Mediterranean, responded to a distress call from the Liberian flag Central Park, which was carrying a load of phosphoric acid in the Gulf of Aden. The vessel is managed by Zodiac Maritime, a London-based international shipping management company owned by Israeli billionaire Eyal Ofer. And according to Fox News, 5 armed gunmen seized the tanker after boarding from a skip pulling alongside the tanker. The crews locked themselves in a safe room called the Citadel. The gunmen tried to beat the door down into the safe room before exiting the ship and making their way back to the shores of Yemen. U.S. Navy personnel pursued the subjects, firing warning shots as a U.S. helicopter gunship flew overhead. A Japanese destroyer assisted the USS Mason with the interdiction. The subjects were arrested, now being questioned by the U.S. military under counter-piracy authorities. 2 U.S. senior officials then told Fox News that Houthi forces fired 2 ballistic missiles at the USS Mason following the arrest. They weren't ballistic missiles. They were indeed cruise missiles, as far as I know, and this is based on an awful lot of research. The Houthi rebels don't have ballistic missiles. Those are missiles that are fire in a ballistic trajectory that will land in a particular spot through guidance. Cruise missiles, on the other hand, which we know the Houthi rebels have, are programmed to fly to a certain area in basically a straight line, not a ballistic arc, but a straight line. And as far as we know, the Houthi rebels do not have ballistic missiles. I don't even know why that's being reported as such. And oh, by the way, the USS Mason was in range of those cruise missiles. Now, that's just a supposition on my part, but if somebody has better information, I sure would like to hear it. And I'll put it out there and say, gosh, I was wrong. But I'm not wrong. Apparently, the missiles fell short. The USS Mason tracked the ballistic missiles as they approached, which is something, if they are ballistic missiles, which I doubt, that's certainly within the capabilities of an Aegis destroyer. Zodiac, the shipping company, said the vessel is safe, all of her crew. The cargo is unharmed, thank goodness. Zodiac Maritime's team in London have been working closely with international naval coalition partners in the region today. According to a company spokesperson, we'd like to thank those coalition forces who have responded quickly, protecting assets in the area and upholding international maritime traditions. Now, there is one other thing that happened. Many of us have been interested in the rapprochement from the Chinese government with regards to why it is exactly they suddenly want to make more friends with the people of the United States and our government, and indeed our CEOs of major companies. Well, we may have indeed gotten a clue on exactly what that is. It is something that falls under the aspect of it falls under the aegis of national technical means. In other words, the tools that we use that are technical in nature that help us fight wars. And national technical means is a broad-based category that got expanded the other day, and I want to show you exactly how that expansion took place, which may have indeed forced China to say, we gotta cool things off between the United States and ourselves. In other words, American technology has made a step forward that suddenly became public, and I'll give you a little showing of that coming up in just a couple of moments here on the Wells Report. Also, we're going to try to fit this all in this next short segment, but there are American heroes that live among us, and they have done something amazing, and I will share that with you as well as we continue on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. National Technical Means. What are they? They're amazing technological pieces of gear. In this particular case, one designed for warfighting. And it has to do with Americans' technology. And that technology has just found something new to share. And insofar as that's happening, I'm going to share that with you. Please do meet the B-21 Raider bomber.
Ladies and gentlemen, our nation's B-21 Raider.
The credibility of our joint force depends on our ability to operate at the time and place of our choosing, to field long-range sensors and weapons, and to achieve effects in the most contested environments. The B-21 unveiled here is part of this credible joint force that will uphold the rules-based international order for the United States and all of our allies and partners for future generations. It will operate in tomorrow's high-end threat environment, and it will enable America to outmaneuver, to outpace, and to outmatch our adversaries. It will deter aggression. And if called upon, the B-21 and the men and women who fly her will be resolute, ready, and lethal on arrival to prevail in conflict.
Yeah. So meet the B-21 Raider bomber. Yeah, that I think, and many people are also saying, that is what brought the United States into conversation with the People's Republic of China. And all I can say is that is truly one of those amazing things that we, all of us, can be indeed proud of. There are also heroes in our midst, and those heroes have stepped to the fore in an effort to bring us a safer world. Police in a small town in Pennsylvania rushed into a burning home to save someone. And what I want you to do is I want you to see that in about 10 seconds. We'll have some video for you. And when it comes right down to it, these guys are heroes, and they're police officers that found a burning building and then indeed rushed inside to save the occupant.
In the driveway, hairs are up thinking, hey, there's definitely probably people inside this house, and we're the ones here right now, so it's time to act.
Hatboro Sergeant Aaron Simon and his partner Officer Robert McMahon's body camera captures a Thanksgiving they will never forget after flames began to engulf a home on the 100 block of Fairview Avenue.
When we got there, you could clearly see the flames coming out of an upstairs bedroom.
You're calling, you're yelling, you're screaming.
Hello!
Unable to see beyond a foot in front of them, and in the crackling of fire, they heard a quiet voice calling for help upstairs.
Come to the light! Come to the light! Come to the light! His room was right next to the room where the fire was, and the flames were partly coming out of the room, so you can only get so far.
Upstairs, the 97-year-old homeowner.
When I was finally able to see him about a foot into his room or 2 feet into his room, that's when I just took a big breath and ran towards his room to try to rip him out as far as I could.
I can't breathe! My partner was trying to grab him as much as he could, and the smoke was so bad that he had to take a break. We just relayed back and forth.
After several attempts, they were able to carry the homeowner to safety outside. Sergeant Simon and Officer McMahon giving thanks. They're charged to protect and serve, another reason for the season, saving the homeowner's life and cherishing their own.
Knowing that he gets to spend, another Thanksgiving with his family, whether it's 10 Thanksgivings or another one, it was very nice to know that, this gentleman is alive today.
He's alive, we're alive, and that's all you can ask for.
I went home and my son was already up, and gave him a big hug and kiss, and it's just like, you got to cherish every moment in life.
And that 97-year-old man was transferred to Abington to be treated for smoke inhalation. He is doing well, and thanks to those two officers, he can spend this Thanksgiving with his family.
Yeah, that was from KYW Television in Pennsylvania. And Hatboro Police, at least those two officers, are certainly heroes today. Because rushing into a burning building is deadly. It's not just the flames, it's the smoke. And they rescued that man, who, by the way, was taken to a hospital and treated for smoke inhalation. He's okay, and he's going to be just fine. And God bless those police officers who put their lives on the line to rescue him. And so we come to the end of another broadcast on the Wells Report. Covered a lot of ground today, mostly news, as opposed to some of the other things we like to do, which is some commentary. So I hope you found some value in this. If you indeed found value in this broadcast, please subscribe to it. By all means, give us those thumbs ups, those likes. Give those, because that tells the people that give us the time that we are using to come to you, Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, gives them reason to say they haven't made a mistake in keeping this broadcast going. The executive producer of this show is Dirk Steele from Denver, Colorado. From Houston, Texas, Jude Dankworth is our associate producer and our publicist. She does great work. You can find her at netmediaconsultants.com. Also, I want to thank Tom Tradick for today, and I want to thank you for joining us. See you again tomorrow. All righty. God bless all y'all. And once again, thanks very much for being a part of the broadcast. Thanks for joining us. And we will doubtless come to you tomorrow with more news, issues of the day, commentary, your debate, all of it, as we continue on this Wells Report. Take good care of yourselves. And I will, like I said, see you again tomorrow. Take care.